Three raffle tickets. Whoever purchased 3 raffle tickets, you may have dropped them. They're here at the front table.
Back up in a second anyway.
Welcome to Gateway Rotary, everybody. Did people not hear the bell?
We don't respect your authority. We don't respect your authority.
Welcome, everybody, and thank you for coming today. Happy Wednesday. It's going to be another great meeting. We're excited to have you all here for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ann, can you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Fellow Rotarians and guests, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Hutch, could you please lead us in the 4-way test?
Fellow Rotarians, please join me in the 4-way test of things we think, say, or do. Number 1.
Is it true?
2.
Is it fair to all concerned?
3.
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
4.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Is it fun?
Sergeant at Arms, make sure you know where Hutch is sitting, please. Thank you. All right, I just want to hear it one more time. I'm going to say number 5, and then you say whatever you want to say. Number 5. Jerry gets a fine as well. Thank you very much. All right, welcome everybody, and welcome to our friends at home. I want to hear some applause for our friends that are watching at home. Let's hear it for those folks. Yeah, just think of this. They didn't get up, they didn't shower, they're still in their slippers, you know, they haven't done anything yet, no shaving, no whatever they got to do to prepare themselves. But they're still here at this meeting, so that's great. Back row. Okay, first I want to introduce our visiting Rotarians. I have none on my list. Nobody has signed in. Do we have any visiting Rotarians here with us today? No. Okay, so I'm going to move right on. We've got, well, Mike, you're going to be, you're my guest today, so I'm going to introduce Mike. Mike is going to be inducted today, so let's hear it from Mike.
Hey, Mike!
And Mike, you have a guest.
I do. This is Heather. This is my Heather, my better half. She came today to watch the induction happen.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Let's hear it for Heather. Nate Peters, you have a guest.
This morning I'm joined with our buyer speaker, Lacey Panowicz of Panowicz Jewelers.
Hey, Leslie.
And we're going to be hearing a lot from Lacey today. Great to have her here. Troy Kirby, you have a guest.
Doug Martin, he's trying to build a facility, big athletic complex out here. We want to be my guest.
Right, Doug, welcome. Patrick Davidson's an all-star. He has 2. Yes. Patrick.
Thank you, Lance. I'm pleased to reintroduce Mindy Lee, who has been a member here in the past, and rumor has it may be interested in joining again, as long as we promise to not call her Mike.
Okay,
All right, not Mike. Very good. Are there any?
No, she's now insisting that we call her Mike.
Okay, we'll call him Mike. Name your second.
Hey, Mike.
Also, Lexi Myers is here.
All right. Who's also not going to be called Mike. Very good. We're sorting out who the non-Mikes are. We have the Doug, not Doug's, and now we have the Mike, not Mike. So we've got a lot of things going on. Great. Any other guests here today? Fantastic. Great attendance, by the way. Thank you all for coming. We've got a couple announcements to make. Crystal, let's hear it for Crystal right now.
So tomorrow is our social. Just a mile right here for taco nachos. Taco nachos. So come at 4 to 6:37 whenever the party stops. I want to see all of you. We can fill this place up just like here. So all of you should come. You at home, come too. All right, great.
All right. Now let's hear it for Crystal one more time. She does a great job organizing. All right, next announcement's mine. I just want to talk a little bit about the dues forms. So a couple things. We're going to be putting this out, distributing it, but we also have the ability to handle it today. Mike Jones, who's in the back, is going to be handing these out. Or he's just going to be welcoming you to the back to come get them. But I just want to kind of describe a couple things on it so you know what you get and what's happening in advance, because we've changed the form a little bit. So the actual dues, again, $200 annual, and we're really looking forward to everybody stepping up, making sure they got that. Part of a couple other things that happen as far as on the Rotary side. If you wanted to be, one of the collections is every Rotarian every year. If everybody were able to make a $25 donation to the Rotary Foundation, we'd be able to achieve that status. That will also get you our new punch cards. Talked about it, I think it was last week, that we're going to have new punch cards annually put out. So the punch cards we've got now will serve you out until pretty much the rest of the year. We might be able to let you go slide a couple extra months, but that might cost you extra punch. But then we'll turn around and start using these annual punch cards. And kudos to Nate, who's going to be finishing the design on that. Look forward to that. So with $25, you get a punch card. But you also have the Rotary Foundation contribution, which is $100. And so that's another way that we can all contribute. And a lot of you already do that, really appreciate it. I filled out my form, I'm doing that as well, and that's going to get you a punch card too. So if you want to come up to the $100 level for the Rotary Foundation contribution, that would be appreciated, and you'll get a punch card for that. We also, on the form, we've got the BBB tickets. We're going to be getting the tickets out sooner this year. That's something that we're trying to do, and a lot of credit to Janine, who's organizing the BBB this year. When is the BBB?
September 7th.
September 7th. Jerry, you don't have to pay the dollar that I told you were going to have to pay earlier. So you now get a good point from your bad point earlier. We're going to keep score with that. Yes, September 7th, BBB. You can buy your tickets for $200 right here. And we also have the BBB keg sponsor. And that's on there for $195. So you get to, this is kind of one of those pick what you want to do. But Mike's in the back. Mike, you want to wave? Mike Jones, I should have said. Mike Jones is in the back, and he's going to wait. And please, we're going to try to take care of this sooner rather than later this year. There's a big part as far as making sure the application, all the dues are in on time, and that's something that we're going to be really going over. So all the emails that I'm sure you missed from me over the last couple weeks, yeah, they're going to be coming again. So get ready for that. We're also going to do an online form at some point soon. More announcements on that coming up. All right, if there's any questions, feel free to ask Mike. Don't ask me because I don't know. We have a couple other announcements I have on my list. Well, before I also have another announcement, and that's that next weekend, for those of us that are going to be going to the district conference up in Victoria, it's going to be a fun time. If you have any logistics issues, challenges, or things that you wanted to discuss as far as getting up to the ferry or however you're getting there, feel free to contact me. I'm sure you could contact Tom, anyone else that's going to be heading there. But it should be a fun time. We're really looking forward to attending that event. I know it's on Mother's Day weekend, and some of you have already said that that's why you can't attend. I'm hoping next year maybe we can do the same thing, and we'll have a big turnout as well. With that, I've got Lori. Lori, you have an announcement. Let's hear it for Lori.
Hey, Lori.
So, a couple weeks ago, I asked everyone to bring food for Pleasant Valley Elementary, and I took it over there on Wednesday and they were thrilled, and that's how much we got.
Wow.
They were so happy, so I just want to thank everybody.
All right.
Thank you, Lori, and thank you for all those folks that donated food. It went to a very fantastic cause. We really appreciate your generosity. Before I move on, any other announcements from, yes?
John Hutchings found these 3 tickets. Did somebody drop 3 raffle tickets? 3 raffle tickets?
Did anybody purchase, this was a purchase
And
ticket.
then they dropped them.
And then they dropped, anybody purchase 3 tickets and then drop them? Remember the 4-way test that Hutch talked about today? All right.
Maybe
Hutch, you
they're
might
his
benefit
own.
out of 3 extra tickets at some point. Yeah, very good. Well, if you go through your pocket, you find out that that's the winner, well, that'll be even more fun for everybody.
Yeah.
With that said, Madeline, we have an induction today, correct? Let's hear it for Madeline.
Da-da-da-da-da. You need walk-on music, yeah. Or stumble on music.
Sing, Jerry. Is that your rule? No singing?
That's right.
Well, music's not singing.
Yeah, music's not, thank you, Nathan.
Yeah.
All right, especially when I do it. That's right.
Okay, today I have the pleasure of inducting Michael Walters, I'm sorry, Walters, I knew it was wrong as soon as I started saying it. So Michael, would you come forward along with Len and Dan Weiss, please?
And
Dan is going to be your mentor. Dan Weiss, Michael.
Doctor.
So, Michael is quite a trip. He's a dancing pirate.
Yeah.
He jumped from the top of the stratosphere in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
He drove 53 hours straight from Olympia to Pharr, Texas. He drives a pink car. He's recently been called a foodie. He likes to cook and he likes to host. He's famous for his wings. Recently got his passport, recently returned from Maui, planning a trip to Cancun that he won in a raffle. Cookies and Pistons, I don't know what that means. Oh, hashtag cookies and pistons. Okay.
Pound sign for something.
Pound sign for our old people. Favorite book, Lori, is a collection of the very finest recipes ever assembled into one cookbook. He made a rose velvet cake in his cast iron rose-shaped cupcake pan. Job. All right. Go, Len.
And it's National Hamburger.
Madeline, did you and Mike coordinate your outfit today? Because it's really
Well, of course.
natural. Yeah, it's very nice.
You sent the email.
Yeah.
You didn't get it?
No, I didn't, sorry.
And Dan. Fellow Rotarians, please help me welcome Michael Walters.
All right. You know, and again, I always say every time we induct a new member, that is one of my favorite individual moments that we have with our club. So thank you. With that, we have an announcement from Nate Peters. Nate. Let's hear it for Nate.
Nate's great.
Thank you. Good morning.
Nate is the greatest.
Thank you, Jerry. So, for those of you participating in the Rotary apparel fundraiser that we did a while ago, they're in, which is really exciting. So yes, awesome. So in the back now.
Louder.
Oh, better? So thank you for those who participated in the Rotary apparel fundraiser. We now have all of the sweatshirts and vests in there in the back. So I will be there after today's meeting, so please come and grab me. I'll be checking them off as I hand them to you. Thank you again for your support. Remember, $25 of that purchase went toward the Rotary Foundation in your name, so thank you.
Thank you, Nate. A great job with that fundraiser. That was really fantastic. Let's hear it one more time for Nate, what he's doing for the foundation. With that, we are one of my other favorite. I have a lot of favorite things. I mean, all the moments here are just favorite moments. We have a guest Rotarian, a visiting Rotarian in the house. Yay. Bill McGregor just showed up. Let's hear it for our Assistant District Governor, Bill McGregor. Willard McGregor, excuse me. One of my other favorite moments at these meetings is learning more about each of us. And we get to do that through our classification talks. And today, for our classification talk, we have Michelle Wickett. Michelle, let's hear it from Michelle.
I didn't do anything. I have nothing to show you.
You can use that slide.
Yay, Michelle! Okay, good morning. I'm Michelle Wickett, and for those of you that don't really know me, I am a mortgage banker here in the community, and I love what I do.
She's awesome.
I am a long-term board member for the Boys and Girls Club, and I just recently went on to the chamber board for the Thurston County Chamber. I'm also the president of my homeowners association. I'm a Gateway Rotarian. Probably most importantly, I'm the stepmother to 3 amazing young men, 39, 27, and 25, and the meaning to 1 4-year-old precocious little boy. So, last time I did the talk, I did it and I talked about how I got to where I was, kind of starting from when I got into the industry in 1978, doing new construction building and rental building, etc., and transitioned with Future Power supporting me to be able to do my building hobby, which is something I love to do, and went into lending after I left Future Power 24 years ago. So that was kind of my history. Didn't really get into the personal side because I don't really tend to do that with people. And I thought, okay, maybe it would be beneficial so you kind of know the background and maybe why I am the workaholic that I am and why I think it's as important to give back to the community as I do. So I'll go back to where I started. I am a Washingtonian. I was born at the old Northgate Hospital in Seattle. It was the closest hospital to Woodinville, which is where I grew up. A very different Woodinville back in the 60s than it is now. Very rural community. The main drag of Woodinville had an IGA, a gas station, and the old schoolhouse that was their administration building back then. And I grew up on 10 acres that my parents had bought in the 50s, and they were hippies before their time. So when I was born, I came home to a garage that did have electricity. It had most of a concrete floor, and we didn't have any running water. So I had an outhouse, and we went and got water from a pipe that came out of the hill, kind of up above where the tasting rooms are at the old schoolhouse, until I was in the 1st grade. So kind of unusual in this day and age to have come from that kind of a background. So you can either look back and say, geez, woe is me, I'm gonna be a victim of this childhood, right? Or you're gonna look back and say, that is not the way I wanna live my adult life, and so I'm going to do something different and make a different life for myself. So fast forward, in 1968, we moved to Olympia when my parents separated, and back then people didn't get divorced either, so of course we kind of kept with that trend, right? And when we moved down to Olympia, my mom had never worked outside of the house. Fortunately, she did have a teaching degree, but teachers really didn't pay anything back in the 60s. And you now are a single mom with no other support trying to raise 4 kids. So quickly, my older brother and sister are very quiet and very shy and very introverted, and I'm usually not, for those of you that know me. And so at 8 years old, I started canvassing the neighborhood. We'd never lived in a neighborhood and got to know neighbors, and I started babysitting people's kids. Who leaves their kids with an 8-year-old? But I did, and I got a lot of babysitting jobs because I was actually responsible for my age. Sometimes I feel like I'm still old for my age, but I got a lot of babysitting jobs. And back then, when you babysat, it didn't matter how many kids were in that household. You did the cooking, you did the laundry, you cleaned the house. 4, 5, 6, 8 kids. It was 50 cents an hour. And that 50 cents an hour really taught me how to budget, because you weighed everything against, do I really want to spend money on this or not? Because if I spend money on this, it's taking me how many hours to recoup that money. So part of that money was going to my mom, because of course we couldn't make it through the month on what she was making. And so at 10 years old, I decided I needed to have another job. And I got another job delivering the Seattle Times paper route in the morning. Again, something you'd never let your girl do in this day and age. Had to do it in my brother's name, because at 10 I was too young to have a paper route, and the girl wasn't going to have a paper route. And so I would leave East Olympia where we lived, and I'd pedal my little bicycle up the hill. Back then, Ridge Road was a huge hill to get to Yelm Highway, and I would drive my bike down Yelm Highway, around Hewitt Lake, Boulevard Extension Road, Hewitt Drive, Laurel Lane, back on Yelm Highway to the end of Brassfield Road, Bath Boulevard, Wilderness, Woodsmere, Shannon Park, and then back to East Olympia. And then at night, you'd be out in the rain collecting in the dark. So I did that until I graduated from high school, along with the second job I got with the Daily Olympian delivering papers at night. When I turned 16, fortunately, because I was responsible and I had done a lot of babysitting, I had started babysitting for a dentist who said that when I turned 16, he would train me to work in his office, and he did. So at 16, he would drill the teeth and I would fill the teeth, and I would polish the teeth and I would assist him. Again, something you couldn't do in this day and age, right?
Child labor laws.
Yeah, but it taught you a lot. So it taught you how to budget, it taught you how to help out, it taught you that the community will help you if you want to be helped. And that's truly, I think, the message and the reason that I've gone into some of the philanthropic endeavors that I have, because I think it's really important to give back. When I graduated at 17, I think the last time you probably heard this, I bought my first house at 18. We'd always lived in rentals after my parents got divorced. And so at 18, I bought my first house, which was a challenge because I had no credit, but I had a down payment. And back then it was capital savings. So for some of you that have been in this community for a long time, I fought with them to get a loan, and I did. And I bought this dilapidated one-bedroom house up on Tumwater Hill, which actually served me well to sell down the road. At 19, I got my 15-year-old brother when my mom remarried, and I raised him, which to this day, at 58, I still think was my biggest accomplishment, was getting him through high school. 4 years behind you is not easy. But again, we had community, and my godparents, who still lived in Woodinville, would take him every summer to give me a break. And they were really instrumental. My brother's one of my best friends. I hear from him every day. And I'm hoping that I am that person in the community when I give back and take the time with people to give them hope, to talk about, you aren't a victim of your childhood. You can make the choices to say, I don't want to do that, but I do want to emulate this positive trait of parents or the things you've had along the way. We all need mentors, and being a mentor in the Boys and Girls Club or whatever other nonprofit that you want to do is important. Being mentors to my niece and my godparents and to my stepsons and my grandchild, all of those things are important. And so I'm not just that workaholic, but I do have a heart out there. I think it's important to give back, and that's part of the reason I am a Gateway Rotarian. Thank you.
Glenn. Nate.
Coming, Jerry. Many of you already know our speaker this morning, Lacey Panowicz. I'm excited to introduce her. A little bit about her background. Lacey is a proud Olympian, born and raised in the community. She graduated from Western Washington University in 1995 with a bachelor's in political science, cultural studies, a little bit of a mix. After graduation, she moved back to Olympia to start her career making a difference at Community Youth Services in 1995. And when she was there, she did multiple positions in the organization. In 2000, Leslie started working temporarily at Panowicz Jewelers. And now, 19 years later, she's transitioning to ownership of this family-owned business, a legacy started by her grandfather, Anton Panowicz, over 70 years ago. Leslie's a proud mother of 2 children. I'm sure she's going to tell you a little bit more about them in her presentation. And in the midst of growing a business and starting a family, she served on a number of boards over the years and was involved with organizations such as United Community AIDS Network, Stop the Violence, Gang Prevention, and Junior League of Olympia. Please join me in giving a big Gateway welcome to Leslie Panowicz.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Is this the right volume?
Yeah,
Okay.
almost does.
I don't know mics, I don't know PowerPoints. My mom had a paper route, and I remember her driving us along in the wagon when we got into grad school, so yay for hard work. And thank you, Michelle, for the inspiring story. Yeah, so I was never gonna be in the family business. I thought jewelry was stupid and materialistic and had no interest whatsoever. So I went into social work to make a difference. I wanted to help people. And my dad the whole time was telling me, you can make a difference in other ways. No, I need to help the kids, Dad. I'm gonna be with the kids. So I did that for about 10 years and then decided I needed a career change. And
Oh, it's not set up.
I don't think we put the.
There we go.
There we go. Yay. So I'm working at the store, and even then it was a few years before I really got it. The blessing that I had is people coming in from the community, strangers that I didn't know, telling me stories about my grandparents. Gosh, when we moved to Olympia, we didn't know anybody, and your grandparents threw a party to welcome us. What? Who does that? Making community, helping people to feel welcome and fit in. Those are my kids. One in college, hooray, that was my goal. Once you get to college, you can do your whatever you want. Almost. My daughter is turning 13 tomorrow. Wish me luck. Yes. 7th grade. Fortunately, she's still sweet.
Right now, hold on to that.
Yeah.
As of yesterday.
So that's a picture of our shop, and I'm just gonna skip around a little bit, but very fortunate to have 2 craftspeople that work on site full-time repairing people's heirlooms in the store. Again, as I worked in the business longer, I really started to understand how much that meant. There could be something that you have from your grandmother, your great-grandmother, or your mother that really is worth $200, but is the most important thing to you because of the legacy of how it was passed on. And the most interesting thing that I've learned is that when you receive a gift or make a self-purchase that's really important to you, 10 years later, if you stop and look and reflect on that item, it brings you exactly back to that moment. So it could be a proposal, it could be your grandmother saying, I'm sure you all have exactly that memory with something in your life. It just flashes you right back. So having a shop on site is huge because everything is safe and sound all the time. Okay, so there's my grandparents. And when they were very young, he was in the military, he was a farm boy and came here from Nebraska and ended up staying here after the war. So, speaking of things that have no monetary value, we were going through his World War II trunks, actually just a couple months ago, and I found this gold-filled locket. Probably cost them $10, they weren't in jewelry, the gold is wearing off, it's old. It's one of my most treasured possessions with that original picture, and I think about the thought that he had when he gave that to her holding that through the war, making it into his trunks, and now I have it today. It's pretty cool. So, just another perspective on materialistic things that don't matter. For the young social worker. That's our old store. You'll probably remember we were there for about 20 years. On the corner of 5th and Capitol, just a little fun history. And so, I'd done social work, I wanted to change, and I said, okay, I'll come work at the store temporarily while I figure out what I'm gonna do. So I had a 3-month gig in the accounting office, not super detail oriented, so how that worked out, I'm not quite sure. And then they drove me down to the sales floor, which terrified me. But one of the things that I did feel really comfortable do was wanting to help and wanting to get involved in the community. And so I said, oh, give me the donations, I'll be in charge of that. And my dad handed me a folder and said, here you go. And I scratched my head and thought, that was a little too easy, there must be some trick. So, to date, we don't say no to a donation, ever. We vary in the level that we give, but if you come asking, it's our duty to say yes and to help. So, these are just a few of the organizations that we help with major donations. It's really a joyful part of my work. So many charity and nonprofits have rotating volunteers, and so their learning curve is always new. I'm in the unique position that we donate so much, it can really help coach and teach all of those volunteers how to maximize their donations for all the hard work that they're doing. So it's pretty amazing. I counted, I think last year, we helped directly charities raise $100,000 through our donations. We didn't give quite $100,000, but was there. So it feels good. So I went from the accounting office and emptying trash to being a jewelry buyer and developing relationships with our vendors. We have some big, huge names, Hearts on Fire, Roberto Coin, big designers. It's all great. And then we have little people with the same ideals and values that we hold. We have David Artinian in the mine shaft. He goes directly to the mines, works with the miners, helping in their communities in Thailand and throughout the world, one-on-one relationships, knowing people every day. We have Dottie Eichhorn in the scarf, and she was a teacher and went down to Colombia and bought purses one time for fun. And her friend said, oh, that's great, you should do it again. And somehow she got into emeralds, and this was Colombia in the 70s. So again, very unique place for a woman to be at that time. Has world-renowned designs now, just small people. She comes up to see us every year. We have Lika Bahar, who is standing right there. This is her shop. She is from Turkey, and she has an office in New York and travels around the world, real people. Every year in October, she rents a mammogram truck and takes that out to communities in the lower income neighborhoods in New York and does free mammograms for people. So it's very rewarding. And now I understand what my dad said about you can help in other ways. It's so far reaching. So jewelry buyer, and now stepping into diamond buyer, which is great fun. I get to do things like go to Antwerp, and it's all work. I don't know what these fashion shots are of very cool people in Antwerp. It's the diamond cutting capital of the world, long history and long tradition, and as I learn, also family businesses, and I'll tell you about that. Bikes everywhere. The bikes will kill you. If you stand in the street, they will hit you, knock you down. Don't stand there. They have this cool architecture, restaurants with steps that are definitely not ADA. It's better to go up after you've had a glass of wine than down. This restaurant is actually in a cave. It's amazing. Regular people cooking on a wood-fired grill. And then there's the train station, which y'all may remember. I don't know how the beer picture got in there. It's pretty fun. So then I go to the Diamond District and have the pleasure to meet a diamond cutter who has been cutting in his family for generations. There's a picture later. His grandpa met his grandma. They were both cutting diamonds. And he's probably in his 80s now. He has this sign in his office. I think no matter what you do, whether it's jewelry, it's not the technical expertise, but the artistic experience. There's Reinhardt, master diamond cutter. And so I don't know if you've ever seen a rough diamond, but they often will look like little pebbles. You'd kick it on the street, you'd have no idea, and they'd see this rock. And a cutter has to look at the graining of the crystal, looking at the shape of it, and then figure out what they're going to cut away to expose this brilliant, bright, white gemstone. Reinhardt worked all his life, retired, and then came back, and he said, you know, we really have it backwards. You should be able to go play and travel, and then, once you're ready to settle down, work, because work is great. Do it right, he said. So now he can pick and choose what jobs he wants, and he cuts very clever and creative things that I don't really know how he does it, but here's one he did for Mercedes. He saw a window, got inspired, went home, and cut a diamond to match. Of course, the traditional cut, which we're all familiar with. It was really fun in Antwerp to hold big diamonds. I think that one was about 13 carats. And if anybody wants one, I can get it for you. It's less than $1 million. So, I thought I'd show just a few pictures of the cutting facilities of where, this is where I was introduced. This was just one of our many suppliers there. Go sit down and they hand you papers of diamonds, and you'll see you open the paper and there's 100 diamonds in there. And they're not graded, and you have to really know what you're doing, because when you buy it, it's yours. Hopefully you do well. I got really, I did well. Yeah. Okay, so Antwerp, the diamond buying capital of the world. And we go once a year. We have relationships with several cutters there, and the beauty of it is the prices actually are less when I go. And because I have those relationships with them, I still get better prices even when I'm here, because it's family, you know each other. There's people, diamond suppliers, that I've been introduced to. I was with a girlfriend and she was buying, and he said, I knew your grandpa, like their family knew her family, and here it is, generations together. It's such a small world. I'm the only local jeweler that goes to Antwerp, and if you want me to bring something back, you just let me know. I will. Predominantly I buy loose there, and then come home and have the setting done here. There's Reinhardt's grandmother in that picture, and his grandfather, you can see, is standing in the very back. The women used to do the fine polishing, the men would do the brooding, taking the rough and kind of cutting it down, and then the women, with a little bit more attention to detail, a little bit cleaner, a little bit nicer job, did the finishing. So that's his family story. These are some diamond cutting tools. You actually can put the diamond on here, and I think a slide, but it's like a record player, and you polish, and then you loop, and you look, and you check the angles. And here's another diamond that he created. And yet another. This is Sasha. He's another one of our diamond dealers. His office was by far the busiest, and sitting there, and he has tons of diamonds. And then I say, oh, Sasha, I'm kind of looking for, oh, just a minute. And he brings some more diamonds. And I say, oh, that one's not quite right. Oh, just a minute. And he brings some more diamonds. And people are talking in every language in the office. On the phone, oh, you don't have what I need? Okay, give me 3 hours and I'll have it. And the network is so tight that they just come up with things. Just a few diamonds. And then you get to use the loop and look, and you're really tired at the end of the day. A few more diamonds, fancy shapes. And that is part of our team. What auction is that? Michelle Wickett? And we do like to have fun at work. There's a Red Nose Day, International Red Nose Day. I don't know what the wine is doing in the picture.
That's how you get your red nose.
So, I just would like to thank you all for the opportunity to get to know your club, and for all that you do in the community, because we're really so lucky. So many people are involved. Even if you don't know someone's name, you recognize someone's face because you've volunteered with them, you've been at a fundraiser with them, you've been at a community organization with them. So it's really an honor to be a part of this community, and thank you. And one of the things that we like to do at our store is celebrate with wine, beer, something. Lots of fun. We also like to recognize everybody's birthdays and anniversaries, a very personal touch, and I'm pretty sure I've missed a few of your birthdays. I'm pretty sure there are a few of you who haven't gotten a card from us for your birthday. Maybe we don't have it. So you should come in and tell us, but in the meantime, I brought birthday cards for everyone in their back. You can pick one up. It's a worthwhile birthday card. We'll help you celebrate. And one shameless plug. You know, Mother's Day is coming 2 weeks. Right before Mother's Day, we happen to have a really cool event in store. It's an estate event, and we have jewelry from the turn of the century that comes. We have more modern, super finds, fun things. It's a great event. I would invite you all to come Thursday, May 10th, and Friday all day. Go with the Thursday and Friday, not the date.
9/10.
Yeah. So anyway, any questions?
Leslie, I was just going to comment that one of my fondest memories of your grandfather was, like a lot of history here, I was in the newspaper industry, worked for the Olympian for 17 years, and got to know Anton fairly well, played golf with him, and then he took me out to the end of Cooper Point one day, and he showed me the brass bell, which is now sitting at the farmer's market, is that correct?
It's actually not now. It's one of my things on my list to track down and find, because he procured that.
Right.
Was so
Fun guy.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, he loved Olympia.
We have time for 2 questions, and I see 2 hands. So Hutch?
Well, it's quick then, but I also loved your Grandpa Anton and your folks, as I do. My question is this: did you used to ride horses or something like that?
Yeah. Rode horses. I can't tell you my whole life story. We have to save something for, maybe one day I'll get inducted.
Yeah.
Alright, Dave, last question.
I just want to thank you, Leslie, for keeping me married for 21 years.
Alright, don't go anywhere. I got a little presentation. Oh, we're gonna do the drawing first? Okay.
If you all got an orange raffle ticket, if you didn't, you get 2 birthday cards. Just because we like celebrations.
Sure.
Go ahead. Draw it, Lance.
Draw the right one.
That's right.
And whoever it is gonna be my new friend. Alright, I'm reading it. River, we're not all winners on this one. 8, 2, 8.
Yes.
2.
Yes.
5. 6. We got a winner.
She has a cup that's really good for hot tea, and a $250 gift certificate.
So one of the things that I heard on there was, and I didn't know, that the diamond city of the world is Antwerp, and I was just thinking, like, you're doing those trips back when, I wish I knew that a couple of years ago when we got our crane. I don't know if that would be in check-in baggage or something that you have to do as far as carry-on, but maybe you could have brought our crane back to the port of Olympia. I'm sure Bill McGregor would have liked that one. So one of the things that our Rotary Club does every year is we donate, or every week, is our presenters, we donate a book to Pleasant Glade Elementary School in honor of the speakers. And I was thinking about how carbon changes over time, and then it becomes a diamond.
Yeah.
So we picked out how and why do animals change as the book that we were going to be presenting.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was an exciting presentation. I'm going to say thank you and so long to our friends that are online. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Whew.